Welcome back, writers. We are continuing our study of creative nonfiction, and today we're going to talk about the poetry of fiction. Now, we've talked about how you can apply the work of fiction to creative nonfiction, the tools that we study for the short story here. So today we're going to talk about poetry and how it factors in to what we're doing here with creative non. Now, there is an essay that is more like the poem, and sometimes called the lyric essay. We talked about the narrative before. The lyric essay is a little bit different. It draws more on your poetic tools than your fiction tools. Brenda Miller and Susan Paola note that poetic essays favor fragmentation and imagery. They use the white space and juxtaposition as a structural element. They're tuned to the silences as much as they are the utterances. Take, for instance, Rebecca McClanahan's Life Rower essay. Right? She uses the white space there, the way that a poet uses stanzas, line breaks. So let's talk about how to do that. First, imagery and figurative language. Imagery, of course, is language that evokes the five senses. Make every word count. What the mind can see or hear, smell or taste, hear or feel, leaves a stronger impression than, say, abstractions do. Show how, of course, also we remember the use of metaphor and simile in poetry. We use these also in creative nonfiction. Show how two apparently unlike things are similar, like in the essays by McClanahan and Sedaris. Like this example, for instance, from the McClanahan Life Rower essay. A child comes into this world hammering its heart out 160 beats per minute, a teletype machine tapping out its urgent message. Okay, so did you catch the metaphor here? Yeah, the metaphor is the child's heart as a teletype machine. You are saying, okay, it's a heart. It's also a teletype, right? That is how metaphor works. Now let's talk about simile. In the David Sedaris essay, a transfer student, by the end of her first day, she had raised her hand so many times that her shoulder had given out. Now she just leaned back and shouted her answers, her arms folded across her chest like some great grammar genie. David Sedaris. Okay. And he knows the simile because it's like. It says this is like this. And that's a fun one too. It gives you this kind of wonderful image of the genie and this Moroccan woman as the genie. Right? And used properly, these can really liven up your lyrical essay. Okay. Diction. Diction is not just the way we say things, but the order and the words that we choose. Okay, it's precision in choosing the best words and where they're placed. Consider McClanahan's description of her attempt to recapture her first husband's interest in their dying marriage. I would work harder, cook more of his favorite food, steam his khakis with a sharper pleat. Okay, the language here mirrors her increasing desperation to save her marriage. I would work harder, cook more of his favorite food, steam his khakis with a sharper pleat. Goes from the abstract down to the very, very specific right there in the end. Okay. In creative nonfiction, word choice is at least as important in your content, particularly in a lyrical essay. Slow down. Consider more than just the words that come to mind. Okay. Now, sound and rhythm. A creative nonfiction essay can also have a beautiful sound to it. It can be musical. Poets write not only for the eye, but also for the ear. Similarly, when the best essays are read aloud, they're almost indistinguishable from poetry. So attuned are they to the sound and rhythm. Right? Onomatopoeia, one of my favorite words in the English language. It's onomatopoeia words that sound like what they mean, like the old Batman TV series. There'd be from 1966. There'd be a fight scene, and you would say "pow," "bam," "biff," and so on. Kristen Iverson says writing prose is like writing music. There's a rhythm and a beat to the language that the reader will enjoy. So keep this in mind as you're crafting your essay. What she suggests is tapping into this music by varying sentence structure and the length of sentences, and by avoiding repetition of words unless it's intentional for effect. Okay. She also advocates reading your work aloud so that you can hear its rhythm. Right? Music is for the hearing. Yeah. And if you read your essay aloud, your ear is going to catch things that your eye misses. It'll also help you pick up on the unique speech patterns and rhythms of what you're writing. Okay, so let's get to our checklist. Does your creative nonfiction make extensive use of imagery? Make sure your essay, like a poem, evokes the 5 senses. Above all, look for ways for your reader to join you in seeing what's in your mind's eye. Next, does the essay use metaphors and similes? A few memorable metaphors and similes will show your reader that you have taken as much time to craft your essay as it does to craft a poem. Just make sure your language is appropriate for your subject matter, and above all, no cliches. Cliches serve no one. And finally, if you paid attention to diction, sound, and rhythm, be mindful not only of the mood and the connotations of your word choice suggests, but also how the words sound together. All right. So that is how to use poetic skills and poetic tools for your creative nonfiction. Hope you've enjoyed this. Remember this, apply this to your work, and above all, have fun. I'll see you in the next video about writing yourself into your creative nonfiction essay.